Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. After a gap of a couple of months, Major General Rajiv Narayanan is back with me and we are going to talk about his new book, The Dragon's Bite. And I thought it was important that we play our signature music to tell you that this is going to make you arise and awake. Uttishtata Jagrata. Let's now welcome General Rajiv. General Rajiv, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel, sir.
Namaskaram, sir. Always nice to come back after a while onto your channel. It's an honor and my pleasure.
Sir, you've been keeping very busy, and in fact, you've been regaling us all with stories and Adi Atin's channel, Def Talk. My God, it is such a fantastic retelling of how you think the world is, where you think the world is headed as far as deep state, global deep state is concerned. I mean, we have been inspired from your thoughts and your, perspective of things. Viewers, if you have not watched that one, go back to Def Talks. Look up General Rajiv's conversations with Adi. Amazing stuff. That's the only word I can say. It's been a revelation. I think I know a lot of things, but no, a lot more things came out from that talk that you said. And I'm not going to spill the secret, viewers. You should go and watch that. But before we listen to Rajiv ji about his new book, I would like you all to like this video and also buy his book. Reading is optional, but I would like you to read it too. Sir, over to you. Take it away, sir.
Yeah. A word about the book. See, I have been a China follower since 99, when our then defense minister made a statement which created a hue and cry across length and breadth of India and the world, when he said the primary threat to India is not from Pakistan but from China.
George
And it
Fernandez.
has, yes, China. And it set me thinking that if the policymakers feel that the threat is from China, I know everything like the back of my hand about Pakistan. It was a big zero as far as China was concerned. I was commanding my unit along the western border at that time, and it piqued my interest, and I've been following China since then. So it's about, you can say, 24 years. The second problem I found was that anything and everything that is written about China is written from a US and a Western perspective about China's threat to Taiwan. There was nothing that I could find which gives about China's threat to us and what is he planning to do with us. This book is an attempt at that, and I don't think any of our authors have written a book on China like this, which gives out the threat from PLA to India. I'm not interested in Taiwan, that whatever threat he may have with Taiwan. My concern first and foremost as a Bharatiya is, what is the threat to Bharat? And what should we do to overcome that? So if we can
Yes,
look
sir.
at the, yeah, so that is why first and foremost PLA under the CPC Dragon. Please remember, the PLA is not China's army. It's not the Chinese nation's army. It is the army of the Communist Party of China. Not like we say Indian army or Bharatiya Sena. It is not a nation's military. It is the military wing of the Communist Party of China. And always remember the first task, which I've listed, analyzed and assessed the tasking in an appendix starting from early 90s till 2019. What is the task? The primary task of the PLA is to ensure the continued rule of the Communist Party of China on mainland China. That means the primary target are the people of China. Rest comes subsequently. It's a different perspective, like I have given. I'll tell you why. Next slides. We call them the dragon. So a dragon burns its victim first. It doesn't bite it. And whatever are the remnants, if required, then it bites. That has been the way they have tried. Next, sir. So In this book, at every phase, from its raising through Mao's era, Deng Xiaoping's era, Jiang Zemin era, Hu Jintao era, and now Xi era, I have tried to analyze what has been the overall strategy and what is the tasking given to the PLA. Then, from there, what kind of capability and modernization they have needed, how has it evolved, and then bring in the reorganization, restructuring. Towards the end, I give a second part, I give the current status. From there, I take the last part, which is likely future trajectory. What are the implications for us and what we should do? It analyzes the importance of the latest science of military strategy 2013, the key areas, not the complete thing, the key areas where major changes have come, and relates that to the all this to the creation in 2015 and 16 of the strategic support force and the rocket force, and links it with their strategic ambitions. What exactly are they doing? Next, sir. So this is the essence of the book, is essentially how CPC conducts its warfare. Remember, PLA is CPC's military wing, so it is CPC's thought, the Communist Party of China's thought, and how the strategies have evolved. Next. So the book is laid out in basically three parts, and each part has three chapters. To make it simple, it's in a very simple language. I've tried to keep it as simple so that a common man can read and understand. And I've tried to maintain a flow. It's more like a narrative rather than a military paper. It deals, part one deals from the when it started on 1st August 2027, when the need was felt for a militia to counter the revolutionary National Revolutionary Army of the KMT, and covers till the era of Hu Jintao, that is Mao era, the initial beginning, Mao era, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and how the doctrine has evolved and the strategic perspectives have also evolved, and what kind of modernization, if any, began from there. Yeah,
General, is it precepts or percepts?
I'm looking at their strategic perception,
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
not
Next,
the
next one.
precept,
Yeah.
what they have perceived.
Yes. Okay, okay.
There is a lot of difference between what they have perceived and what will actually happen on ground. As
True, true.
what out I'll tell you. So that is their strategic perceptions, which is driving their modernizations. Some have been hits, some have been royal misses. In part two, I come to the grand strategy of PLA in Xi's era. There is a major change between the era till Hu Jintao and now, and then what key shifts he has orchestrated through the science of military strategy of 2013. He came to power in 2012. And the last part deals, like I said, what would be likely future trajectory of the PLA, what are the options for India to blunt the dragon, and as far as US and the West are concerned, I have given some options essentially for the Indo-Pacific region. As I visualize from here, medium to the long term, India's area of interest is going to be P1 is the Indian Ocean region, and P2 will be the Western Pacific area or the Indo-Pacific region as the US looks at it. That is what is going to be. So I have left it at that place. Somebody wants to build up further on it and write a book on that, they are most welcome. Next. Because also, before I go to these details, when we look beyond the Indo-Pacific and others, then we are looking at a geopolitical level. I've tried not to make it too geopolitical and keep it simple along the PLA. So when you look at part one, this covers the essential lessons learned by Mao. They were initially in the urban areas, and it was in the 30s, 33, 34 that they got a thrashing in the urban areas. by the Revolutionary Army. And they took a long march from the south and went northwest to Shanxi province. Why did they go to Shanxi? Because that brings them closer to the Soviet Union.
Right,
Soviet
right.
Union is there, and their mentor was the Soviet Union, the Communist Party of Russia. So once they failed in that, and 33, 34, 34, 35 was that long march, that is when Mao came out with all his conceptualization of People's War or protracted People's War, the three stages, that is strategic defense, wherein you can trade space for time. And in this phase is the guerrilla attacks to delay the enemy. You gain time through guerrilla attacks. Then comes a strategic stalemate, wherein you stall the enemy by a successive guerrilla attacks, and your own PLA forces, mobile forces are attacking the enemy. And thereafter comes the strategic offensive, where you go out on all-out offense with your forces and you defeat the enemy. These were formalized, and the Red Book was issued. And the active defense became the leitmotif of the PLA strategy. Active defense does not mean that you're defensive. Wherever you feel you will not commence formal attacks in the larger perspective, but wherever you feel that your interests are threatened, you can go and launch a preemptive. Classic examples: Korean War. Yalu River is the border of North Korea or Korean Peninsula with China. They had all their logistic bases to support this fight there. The Soviets and the Chinese had their logistic bases there. MacArthur had been warned not to cross this, but he launched raids across to destroy them. Moment they felt threatened, the Chinese attacked. Mass attacks, they attacked. Same, you look at 1962. But there is a slightly different perspective also in 62, in the sense that Mao was feeling threatened, his chair, because the Great Leap Forward had become the Great Leap Backwards. And millions of people have died, and he was isolated. So he preempted, created an incident, and attacked India. Same in 1979, which Deng Xiaoping tried to do in Vietnam. While he succeeded in Korea and with India, but he failed, Deng Xiaoping failed royally in Vietnam. So these were the percepts. And since the National Revolutionary Army was very, you could say, rough with the people, in his Red Book, he had given diktats to his people that you will treat them well. Whatever you take from them for your eating, you will pay for them. You will look after them. And if they are in need, you will help them. So, and that is where began their concept of subverting the people. They found it easy to subvert the rural areas, and subversion as an ideology started from there, because they learned during the Civil War that the masses in the rural area, China was vastly agrarian society and a rural society at that time. So post the Second World War, since the masses were with him, they were able to win the protracted civil war. That was what was People's War, where they used the masses for him. Now, this was also the case. They were worried about, once Khrushchev came in the early 50s, Mao Zedong hated Khrushchev. His mentor was Stalin. So they started and became worried about the northern borders. So the bulk of their deployment was towards there. And again, it was a trade space for time. By the time Deng Xiaoping came to power, things had changed at the geopolitical level. You find that Soviet Union was deeply embroiled in Afghanistan. US had reached out. China and US had become friends. And China had reached out a helping hand to start helping them. So Deng Xiaoping formalized a new concept, He did away with People's War and it became winning local wars, that is, regional wars. And the strategy was war zone campaign. That it is one by one they would take a local war. It was supposed to be a single front war, one war at a time against the regional people. And they felt that they had no threat from the major powers. So this is the period from when you will find bulk of their military deployment is towards the eastern seaboard for Taiwan. Then you have a little towards the north, some towards the southwest against us, and a central reserve available to go wherever. Okay. From there, they brought in the concept of a, he brought in his concept of a comprehensive national power. There's no need to be confused. The simple thing which I've explained in the book, I have not gone into the subsets and the metrics and whatever they use. Everybody uses differently. Within China itself, they use differently to confuse you. The simple thing is the US and the West looks at power, national power with only three verticals: economy, military, and diplomacy. Now, learning from how they won their civil war in China, within China, they brought in a very important angle, which is the human element. The human resource became the fourth vertical and the vertical which they always target. Because if you have subverted the human resource of a nation, what your economic power and your military power depend totally on the human element. If they get subverted, then what kind of diplomatic power will you have? That has been their complete thrust throughout, to subvert a target nation internally by targeting the mind of the people, which I have termed in my book as cognitive domain operations. They will target your brain and make sure that you will be in no position to take a decision at the highest level contrary to what the Chinese want. Clubbed with that comes that their always aim has been what Sun Yat-sen had given to them: learn from the West and become powerful. So they want, in the first phase, whatever they talk of China dream, is to control Asia, become a major power and the only power in Asia, and then take on the sole superpower, which is the US. That has been their view throughout. And anything and everything that they are doing to the PLA at the moment is to counter US, period. The biggest power in the world today. Now, while their strategies and modernization and structures were evolving slowly, they got a rude awakening in the Gulf War I, 1991, because they suddenly realized the importance of a technology-driven military. That if there is a vast technological difference between the opposing forces, the forces which applies such a revolutionary or disruptive military technology in the field of battle will win hands down, as was seen when US and the West fought the Iraqi army in Kuwait. Total disruption.
Shock and awe.
Total shock. And they actually went in shock and awe. Along with that, which I have not given here, was the second shock they got when they tried to get tough with the Taiwan elections, when they felt that the pro-independence party, the DPP, will win, Democratic People's Party, and they fired missiles across the Taiwan Strait. US, in a show of force, sent two carrier groups through the Taiwan Straits, and China could do nothing and had to eat a humble pie. And from there began their concept of what is called, which I've given there also, anti-access and area denial, A2AD. So a variation came in the war zone campaign, which was only for regional power, that you have to keep now the superpower at bay. So you deny him access and deny him area of operations so that you get the time to defeat the enemy. And hence their perception has now become that a war zone campaign succeeds only if it is single front, if only regional power, single. It fails when a superpower comes in the aid of that regional power, or that regional power, the various regional powers get into an alliance. Hence, you find it screaming whenever you have India does anything with, whether it be France getting into alliance with US, getting into Quad, they scream because whatever they have thought of fails completely. So in 1998-99, they held a conclave and they brought out 6 combats on which their R&D is still based. Remember 98-99, the computer was just coming in, things were just coming in, and you got to learn from them, that from 91 and then thereafter 96, how they have focused their approach on what kind of future technologies are coming and how they have evolved that. Can we go to the next slide, sir?
Yes, sir.
Nick, yeah. Now this is what they have given the 6 future combats. Just remember, I'm talking of 98-99. Michael Pillsbury had edited a book way back in 2002. It was released in English, where they have translated all their documents of the conclave that they had held, published in 2002, China's Views of Future Warfare. And the concise, I have taken out the 6 major long-range combat. Talking of long-range vectors, missiles, rockets, UAVs, drones, UUVs. We are seeing it today. And this is 98-99. Look at what happened in Nagorno-Karabakh. Look at what happened in Syria. Look at what is going on in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Outer space, militarization of space. They called it outer space combat, but when you read detail what is given, it is militarization of space. We are talking about it now. They thought about it then. Paralysis combat, kinetic information warfare, and cognitive domain operation, where, like I mentioned, they target the brain, people, decision makers. So you are paralyzed in combat. You don't know how to take decisions because you will get conflicting reports. That is the kinetic information warfare. Already they have put through a cognitive domain operation where your thinking has become warped. Computer combat, they called, which we today have called it as cyber warfare. Computers were just coming in at that time. And remember, based on this, way back in 2002, Hu Jintao had recruited 2 lakh graduates to start working on this cyber warfare. The bulk of what is written here, everything took place under Hu Jintao in his period of 2002 to 2012. Nothing by Xi Jinping. Let's be clear. There is a beautiful book given by, published by Rand, of what all Hu Jintao had done during his period, analyzing all their documents and everything. Radiation combat. They spoke of radiation combat then. We talk about it now as directed energy weapons. Electronic support measures, ESM, electronic countermeasures, ECM, electronic counter measures. And within this computer cyber warfare comes your quantum computing. They've all been thinking about it. Robot combat, AI, robotics. And for the human being, since the people are not well competent enough to fight in the mountains like we train in super high altitude and high altitude. We do our uh, ensure that we are acclimatized to various levels to go there. It's formalized scientifically by our scientists, which we follow. They have gone in for ecoskeleton. They are working today on an ecoskeleton on the person so that it improves his efficiency by more than 50%. So these are conceptualized way back, and they have been working on that. But there are drawbacks also, which I have identified. Conscript come contractual force. 40% of their people are conscripts, compulsory 2 years. And then thereafter, if you are found competent enough, you can apply, go for an exam, be selected. Then you are on a contract. So you are on a contract of 5 to 10 years, and you have to keep renewing the contract. This is one of the ways of cutting their pension bills, but it has its drawbacks because a contractual person who's there for 5 years, he is most worried about his second innings. What will happen after that? Will he get it? Will he not get it? How much of thought will he give to fighting than getting out on the civil street? And the biggest problem here is consideration of loyalty over merit. Flows top to bottom. Even now we are seeing what he's doing. Means even if I am a good soldier and I want to become a contractual, either officer or a NCO, non-commissioned officer, it is loyalty to the party which is important. So the political commissar who's sitting now back in the company level, he will decide whether this person is good enough, is loyal to the Communist Party. So merit goes on a back seat. After that, from these people, whoever pass the exams, they will be selected. So you are perpetuating mediocrity. And that doesn't help you when you're looking at a highly technological warfare of the future. Has always been, we talk of him having centralized command, there has always been a centralized autocratic command. Like in the earlier days, the military region commander was the boss. If you violated that, you were gone. And from the time of Hu Jintao, but now under Xi Jinping, it has increased manifold. They were bringing in many new platforms, ships, aircrafts. They didn't have trained troops, and they did not have trainers to train their troops. And now that he has increased it further, the void is so great. That's why you hear about people being poached, retired officers and men from the US and the West being poached to and being paid how much? $250,000 a month to come and train their soldiers. Classic cases in Australia where the US ex-Marine pilot has been arrested and who's fighting his extradition case. Can we go next, sir? Now in part 2, this is where a lot of the shortcomings that I had spoken about is also highlighted. It covers the shift in strategy in Xi's era. And there are two major issues which have come up. One, from active defense, they have now coined a phrase in the Science of Military Strategy 2013, active forward edge defense. Means they will be going away from their borders and working for active defense in those areas. Aim is to spread what they call is the strategic space. That means you will like to fight your battles beyond the actual boundaries of your country. So when you look at the South China Sea, the islands in the Paracel Islands, the artificial islands in the Spratlys, and the Scarborough Shoals, this triangle provides it depth to fight any maritime battle well away from his eastern seaboard. Then you realize why he is so aggressive for the Senkaku Dayu Islands. Because if he gets
Then thing
that,
you
and
have to repeat that. Yeah.
East China Sea. Okay. Taiwan is a different kettle of fish. because he has a revenge of geography, the multiple island chains that he has to go through if he has to come out and become truly a blue navy power. Moment he gets Taiwan, then the whole of Pacific is open to him. As long as Taiwan is not with him, then he has to go through those multiple first island chain, second island chain before he can get out. And that is where he is getting constrained. Okay. So to break these also, he is using what he terms as OSSPs, that is overseas strategic strong points. He doesn't want to use military base, the term, because it is a bit of has an imperial background. So he uses this term. I have explained it in detail. What are the charter and tasks of people in OSSPs? It is exactly that. And look at where all they have come in: Djibouti, Gwadar, Hambantota, Kyakpu, and now he's trying to get space in Solomon Islands. He's got it in Siam Reap, Cambodia, that naval base. Okay, so these are the ones which will help him expand his maritime base. OSSPs are also supposed to be there in continental space, wherein he, along his BRI, to protect his assets, he is going to place his troops there. He's been fighting with Pakistan to place his boots on ground to protect the assets that he has created. Pakistan has not yet given. So he restructured and reorganized the CMC, created theater commands, brigadization of the ground forces, and the PLAF. Now, this brigadization, the formal exercise and practices to understand how it is to be done, began in 2006 under Hu Jintao. And that is where they came in, because this is a expeditionary force, and they know that a division takes a lot of time to deploy, as they saw it with what happened with the Americans. Learned from the Americans, the striker brigades, they call it the combined arms brigade. You've created the rocket force. They are tasked with the anti-access and area denial in the first and second island chain to the US Navy. Strategic support force get everything under one head to do the three warfare strategy: your targeting, subversion, your psychological warfare, your information warfare, cyber warfare. Everything comes under SSF. Since he has created theater command, a joint command and control center, joint logistics support center, there's a lot of distance he has to travel because he does not have a war waging potential. I brought it in the book, the problems that he faces to conduct a war. And Ukraine has opened his eyes that it's not going to be a short war as he thought in his war zone campaign. It's likely to be a long drawn war. He is not prepared for it. All paramilitary, border defense, People's Armed Police, Maritime Militia, Coast Guard have come under the CMC. He has three navies which I brought under plan: Maritime Militia, which are all these fishermen, trawlers, all manned, some of them manned by retired Navy soldiers, and Coast Guard. These three, all under CMC. And the modernization thrust is essentially on strategic assets: ships, rockets, aircrafts. The ground force has taken a back seat. And whatever he needs for the strategic support force by way of space requirements, by way of cyber, by way of narrative warfare, whatever he has to do, psychological, money to be given to buy over your media, everything, that is what is targeted. That is what is coming under gray zone to provide you internally, a target country like India, multi-domain threat in the region. So this I have already covered, the last point. Next.
Yeah.
So it is very clear how he is going to the next previous ones. Next. Yeah. So this I had already mentioned about the strategic support force. Now, strategic support force comes under the CMC, and UFWD, United Front Works Department, whose sole job is propaganda and subversion of the masses. That is all. That comes directly under the Politburo Standing Committee. So now you imagine she has the UFWD and Xi has the strategic support force. Both the PLA and the United Front Department are working first hand to burn a target nation from inside. All mass attacks and all have gone. They want to do integrated operations. I brought out a major drawbacks that they have. They can forget their integrated operations. They'll never be able to achieve that. But what we have to remember, through the late 80s up to early 2000, they had a problem of funding. So they went for pockets of excellences within the military. Like the group armies were graded type A, B, C. A were the first in prior to get new weapons. What they shed went to C. B gave a second priority. And within these, they located units which were called rapid reaction units and rapid reaction forces formations, which were to train to move long distance into different military regions at that time to be able to assist the military region. And from there came out the concept of trans-regional support operations, which can now be converted to trans-theater support operations. And they have been practicing this movement and how to do it, movement control, what is required since 2009, when their first trans-regional support exercise started, which was called Kuaue, which in English means the strike. And they have been practicing and rehearsing that and creating assets and other things, which you see the various structures which are coming up in various border areas is meant for these people to come and be housed there. So the target has been expeditionary capabilities because it's an expeditionary army. Complete PLA, except for a few I will just mention, are located in the Han heartland. That is, in our case, Sichuan province and eastwards. Nobody is in the other areas which are non-Han areas, which it has colonized and occupied. In Tibet, there are three combined arms brigade, period. In Xinjiang, there were 4 divisions, out of which 2 are deployed in East Ladakh. There are 2 left. The task of these formations were essentially to control the people. That was their task. And of course, now looking at active defense to active forward edge defense, because he is placing these OSSPs in areas where his interests are. And it is the task of the OSSPs to ensure that their Chinese interests are protected, their investments are protected. That is their task. And to ensure that the government ensures the protection and continues policies favorable to China and does not permit any other party to come to power which is anti-China. Please remember that. That is the task of OSSPs. Next. Next slide, sir. Yeah. Now, based on this, I have brought out what are the 5 stages. Though I have said target nation, this is specific for India. During peacetime, he is going to wear down your comprehensive national power. We are seeing his footprints in various places, media, and a lot of people have started talking about it, how they are going about it. Media, political parties, you have scholars, you have think tanks, name it. While this is on concurrent, the next stage is when he attempts salami slicing, when he feels you're not strong. Galwan happened because he felt that you were so embroiled with COVID that you would not respond. He made a mistake. That's why I said not percept. It is a perspective. His perspective was that you are weak. You are not weak. So he will do that, both maritime and continental. In continental, he sends his herders, he sends his local fishermen, yak herders. Aim is to extend space. Yeah.
General Rajiv, I have a question, philosophical more than anything else. You mentioned that the Chinese army doesn't know how to fight in high altitudes. So they have an exoskeleton which helps them to survive that harsh weather. Now, see, what happens is India didn't go looking for trouble in Galwan, but having got it, why did India not take the initiative even more and go inside and you have to, this deterrence. where you go back and say, you come in once, I'm going to go in two times more and occupy your side, and not give up. Instead, India went back, and then, in fact, India has actually ceded some territory now, even though you can say we stood up to them in Galwan. Why isn't India stopping
No,
at our own
there are
line of
two
actual control, which is really not a line?
when you have to be very clear. Are you ready to go to war? You got to be very clear in your mind. Are you ready to go to war? Were you ready to go to war? You were ready to give him a bloody nose because you were battling COVID at that point in time. Everything was shut down. Please remember that. Everything was shut down. So were you ready to fight? He was attempting a salami slicing. You went onto the Kailash range and other things. So excluding Depsang and North, where he is still in occupation, rest of the areas he has had to break all his defenses and go back 9 kilometers. I always feel that our media and others are not highlighting these things, what happened. You were at the peak COVID period at that time. During COVID, are you ready to go to war? I don't think any nation was ready to go to war. He never thought that you would be doing these actions. You did it. So this is what we have to be careful about. You have Wars don't happen overnight. You got to plan and execute the war, because when you go to war, there is a very important control that you need to have, which is called the escalatory control matrix. You need something to control the matrix. Now, what has happened when you have not gone to war as yet? Xi Jinping has opened multiple fronts for himself now. So his war zone campaign has failed, except for the two group armies which are located in the Western theater. Nothing is available to him now. Why? He's opened a front in the North Sea with Japan. He's opened a front now with South Koreans. They have also come out with their strategy. He's opened a front in South China Sea. He's opened a front in Taiwan. He's opened a front with you. He is worried about the influx of Uyghur militants coming back, the brigade which has fought in Syria, Iraq, and everywhere coming into Xinjiang. He's very worried about that. And he is slowly losing control of the population. The population is very angry with him. The youth is very angry with him. So there are 7 different fronts that he has opened up against himself, and he has no clue what to do. His economy is sliding down every day, and he is still working ways as to how to make himself food independent. And as a result, he has destroyed hillsides and totally torn down all the trees from there, and wanting to do step farming, and told people to start growing rice and wheat. And I'm sure these floods, most of it would have got wiped out. So he is now in a situation where he actually doesn't know what to do. And this is where I have called it out in the book, that you got to keep your guard up, because a megalomaniac like Mao, when he's on the back foot, he'll hit out. And the next 3 stages are the stages of the war zone campaign. Elite forces, sharp arms, where he'll try to target. His attempt is that he will target all the induction routes and ask you to come to, and create all problems inside further, create more fissures, create people to people strife, and then ask you to come to terms. If you come, fine. Otherwise, concurrent with this, while all these 3 stages are on, he will come onto your border and start occupying critical areas and say, come and talk. And if you don't, then he wants to a quick battle and quick result. But now this goes down the drain. Which quick battle, which quick result? You got only 2 group armies, 2 corps. What can you do today? In his uh, false perception that what they talk of the flow of power, chi, has shifted from the West to them, he suddenly finds himself on the back foot. Japan and the West aged, and their economy started slowly, gradually stagflating, came place, or there was a reduced growth of GDP after they became rich. China is not rich, and even before he is rich, his economy has gone down, stagflation is coming up, everything is coming up. He is facing the same issues that Japan and the West are facing before becoming an economic behemoth. And stage 5, like I said, Ukraine has told that war is going to be lengthy. So the three stages which Mao had mentioned was if somebody attacks them. Now, how is he going to coin his protracted war problem? Because war zone campaign is the only one that they have. Next. So the last part is future trajectory. As far as India is concerned, at the geopolitical level, I have kept it limited that there are three scenarios which I have discussed which India can do. Now, by default, one of the scenarios has already come out. And recommendations I have given is firstly at the highest national level decision making. This apparatus was made just after we got independent, and it evolved up to the early 60s when the AOB TOB rules were formalized in 1961. My perception is that it doesn't hold true today, since the type of threats and other things have changed. You will need to evolve your national decision making apparatus, which I have given my recommendations there. Similarly, what should be the higher defense organization? There's nothing much different. I have written about it, a number of papers and articles earlier, which have been published in various magazines and other places. I have built it up, spoken about the kind of integrated military strategy now that we are going for theater commands. At that point in time, the options for theaterization were there, about two, three. I've taken two of them and discussed the pros and cons and gave my opinion. I find that today the recommendation that I had given is being built upon. So I am quite sanguine that we are going down a path. But we need a integrated military strategy, not just for the external domain, for the internal domain also. For the US and West, like I said, I've restricted there. A basic issue what I have brought out and analyzed is there are far too many treaties, arrangements, agreements. You have multilateral arrangements, bilateral, trilateral, minilateral, all working at cross purposes, some in the same area. So I have recommended that we should do nothing, let these stand. Uh, Create either an overarching forum or a commission headquarters wherein the representatives of the decision makers of the country sit together and iron out the differences and overlaps, so you get a better bang for the buck, because we already have quite a lot of structures available there. And finally, I've concluded that because of all the problems that China is facing under Xi at the moment, this 10 to 20 years, this is the window of opportunity that India has, where you can grasp. And since by virtue of our geography, we dominate the Indian Ocean region, so in this near to medium term, or maybe towards the long term also, India can become a benevolent power and a net security provider in the region. And when I say net security provider, it doesn't mean military, because there are many areas for security. You have food security, energy security, data security, people. So there are many securities that are available. You can be. And under that, I have recommended that we should have a prompt regional response capability in the long term, which we need to create. Because only if you have a prompt regional response capability, that the people of the region can also look up towards you, that here is somebody who will be a first responder in case of any emergency that I face in any sphere. So this is what the whole book is all about, looking at it from India's perspective. And last, I have given the links where people can buy the last. We can go over this. Let us look at the last one, where the problems are still there. What he had said, that exists, which I have given. And these are the links that we have, that from where you can buy. His major problems exist, and you can look at it from this perspective today. What I have mentioned in 21 was when I gave the book for publishing. If you look at it today, what has happened? Sorry, 22, I had given the book. Four of the rocket force generals have been purged. One from the strategic support force has been purged. And from 2022, from 2020 onwards, when he has forcibly taken his third term, that is 22 onwards, till now, 40 senior officers stroke cadres have been sacked. Look at the psychological impact on the people lower down. Will they act on their own? Will they have any initiative? It kills we can close it. So it kills the initiative. So what innovation are you talking about? He will be most worried that if I innovate something and the capo di tutti capi doesn't like it, I'm gone. So he will only do what, try to present to the capo di tutti capi what he wants to give. I finished. Yes.
Sir, fantastic is all I can say. It's a very 360-degree look at what is happening. And even as we were talking, there are some comments coming that India is actually fortifying the chicken neck area because along Bhutan, China is alleged to have bought the 5 kilometer strip along the border of Bhutan with India, and they have actually built a road. So, in other words, they can even come in plain territory, may not be exactly the chicken snake, but a little bit further east. And then from there, they can cut India into two. So, this is something that has been of concern for a long time. My question, General Rajiv, is China threatened India that it will take down its power grid, and it did. For 12, 13 hours, parts of Mumbai did not have power in 2020. Now, this is essentially, cyber attack. They probably had sold equipment to India, so they had some back end links to get back in there and turn things off, which whatever it happened. Since India doesn't provide any of these kinds of infrastructural products to China, I think India usually, whatever India sells to China, it's mostly in raw goods form. How will India retaliate? Because it's a like for like response. Has it done, in your opinion?
2, 3 points you raised. Firstly, chicken neck area. Let me assure you, sir, he is at a tactically and an operationally disadvantageous position in chicken neck. It has been played up by a lot of people for long, people who have not gone there. I leave it at that. He is not bought from Bhutan, he is forcibly occupied. And that was the road initially that he was trying to make come towards the Dokala, which is the Dokala Pass, when we blocked him in 2017. Now the road that he's making is 5 kilometers further behind and creating a place. I would only say more the merrier, because then the entire lot of people, if he opens a front there, become PWs. I'll leave it at that, having served about 4 years in the Northeast opposite the Chinese. That's the PW area for Chinese. Next, yes, at that time, the problem was that it was a whole lot of electronic and other items, everything was being sourced from China. It has stopped. And slowly, you are taking it out away. Yes, at the moment you are sourcing from the West, and that is the push for making chips and making all these things in India under Atmanirbhar Bharat. And the latest is that they have created a fund for research R&D, which is a government, public and a private sourced fund, which will be used for R&D for Atmanirbhar Bharat. You have to have all these hardwares made in your country. Fine, today you have friends with the US and the West, and you're taking out the Chinese one and you're sourcing from them. What happens at some point in time? The geopolitics of the area change, and you're no longer their friend. As Lord Palmerston had said, they're nothing permanent in geopolitics. What is
Only
permanent
interest.
are your interests. So that is the push that is going, and in the next 5 to 10 years, I think we will be able to solve it. As far as entry into China is concerned, I have written in a lot of my papers and talks. China actually does not deserve to be in the WTO. That was brought in only by the Americans and the MNCs to make money, lure of the lucre, period, for the kind of profits they get. Because there is no rule that the Chinese follow. They don't open the market for anybody so easily. So it's a very difficult to buy there because they follow the old system of the boss deciding what can be bought and what cannot be bought. The Chinese emperor used to have the kowtow system where if you wanted trade, you went, and kowtow means you bowed to him, and he will tell you where you can trade and what you can trade. It is not, he's not interested in what you bring. Same is the case they are continuing here, where you can trade and what he will take from you. So I think now that we are slowly trying to wean us away from them, the only major area which is still pending, on which it's a work in progress, is the API. Once you get
For
away from
pharma.
the
For
API,
pharma.
yes, once you get away from the active pharma ingredients and get your own things in place for which work is on, then the Chinese will realize suddenly that you don't need it. That is why the screaming by the Chinese to prevent people from coming into India, that they will never be able to replicate us. They will never, little realizing that India is not wanting to replicate China. Why should I want to become another China? I am Bharat. I'd like to be Bharat, and a developing Bharat. I don't want to be a developing Bharatiya China. No. It will take its time. But the first kick they have got when BYD was thrown out. He was their electric car maker was coming in with 1 billion investment. They thought with
Yes.
$1 billion investment, India will agree. India has just refused it and sent them. So it's still hurting them quite a lot.
General Rajiv, we haven't had any chance to ask our questions, our
Yes.
viewers' questions. Would it be possible for you to spend maybe 15 minutes more, sir? I have
Oh,
a
most
lot of
welcome.
questions.
Whatever time you want. No problem.
Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate it. Let's have some questions, please. I have more questions, but I think our viewers deserve their questions answered. Jyotishmati wants to know, do we get the
Jyotishmati ji, I have been after my publisher for Kindle version. Just yesterday again, I have emailed them again for the Kindle version. I have not received any reply as yet from the publisher, Lancer's publication. I've told him that moment you get the Kindle version, it will sell, and especially older lot like me, like a hard copy, like the one you can see at the back. I like to keep a book and open it and read it and turn pages back. Younger generations like the Kindle, they prefer the Kindle. So I've requested. Let's see.
Stone wants to know, obviously the Siliguru corridor is our weakest link. Excuse me. How do we fix that? And is our government working on it?
I've already answered that. It's
Yes,
not
you
your
have already
weakest,
answered.
it's his
Yeah, next one.
weakest.
Yeah.
Please remember, we are on the heights surrounding it. He is in a depression.
Rahul Kulkarni wants to know why Al Qaeda supported the cookies. Is this only for drug money or something else?
Drug, drug, nothing else. Since this
Rahul,
government has come to power, they have targeted all these hill areas. And please, it is only, don't say Al Qaeda supported cookies. The cookies, the metis, everybody is involved in drug. It
yes,
cuts
yes.
across. Please abuse yourself that it is cookies versus metis. No, the metis are also into drugs. The hillside area, the complete hills surrounding the Imphal Valley, all these people have gone there and they're going poppy out there, and the whole drug trade is on. From the time this government has come in place, they have been destroying all that. And so they just use that. And I don't know why the High Court gave that judgment. They had no legal standing to pass the judgment, and telling state government when it is a central government's priority that who's SC, ST, and OBC list. So it was a planned move by the, I would say, to go for the High Court to give that decision. What they did, why they did, how they did, who was that judge. Supreme Court
Oh,
has redacted. We don't have a policy of if somebody makes such useless judgment, he gets defrocked. We don't have that. I think we need to have that.
in fact,
That
this
is
judge
the
who wrote this judge who gave the judgment, sorry, General Rajiv, Just do a little bit of research, viewers. You'll know who this guy is.
So in
He's got
20
a record
minutes,
of doing dubious things.
didn't even
Yeah.
hear anybody else. In 20 minutes, he has given the judgment. It's apparent what he has done.
Sir, this man, the less said about his judicial judgment, acumen, the better. Let's leave it at that. But if you read the name of the person, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so General Rajiv and I want to stay on the right side of law, so let's move on to the next question. Sri sir, okay, Jyotishmati ji, today Shekhar ji was not available. So, in fact, I was going to have General Rajiv at 11 your time, India time, but I pushed it back to 10 a.m. to kind of save myself 1 hour sleep. Very, very selfish on my part since Shekhar ji said he wouldn't make it. He will be back again next week, and we apologize for not being able to bring Shekhar ji. So, let's move on to the next question. I should have said this at the beginning of the program. My bad. It's actually called my mistake. US, they call it my bad. Nowadays, having lived here for so long, I have got used to the American slang. Stone wants to know if China was to cut off the Siliguri corridor, it's not, it has basically declared war on India and they'll have to run over Bhutan. Would active defense by India mean having army bases in Bhutan?
Stone, sir, I don't think you know your geography. Pardon my saying so bluntly. Siliguri corridor has nothing to do with Bhutan. If the chicken snack area and Bhutan are two different entities. So if you're talking about coming into the Siliguri corridor and cutting off the chicken snack area, he doesn't need to overrun Bhutan. So why do you want army bases out there? India doesn't believe in basing, but yes, we will protect ourselves. And like I told you, that he is in the depression, low-lying area. We surround him on all sides on the mountains, and on the other side, of course, the Bhutanese army, whom we also train, they train with us. They are on the higher ground now, excluding and that started in a very big way after they came to the Doklam Plateau, which is further back, which is Bhutanese area. So the Bhutanese army, Royal Bhutanese army, is all over. We have a training team there in Trat. They train the Bhutanese. They come to our academies. They come to our places. So interoperability is there with them. And on balance three sides, we are dominating. So what will you do? I don't need bases. Active defense is not my strategy. That is entirely Chinese. Active defense and active forward edge defense. It's not Indian. So why are you wanting to extrapolate what Chinese have said to me? I follow what Mao said. You fight your way, I'll fight mine. So let him fight his way, I'll fight my way.
Saurabh Jain wants to know how will Agniveer scheme change and prepare us for the future?
You will get a disciplined lot of forces available in the civil street at every phase, at every level. Just look at it from that perspective.
Saurabh Jain again. Also, what is Agniveer's actual role? Is it support / combat or other? Will it prepare us for China along with weapon modernization?
Oh, yes. Agniveer is proper soldiers, yeah. They get trained. Basic training is given in the centers, and thereafter the unit trains them.
Next question,
Combat
please.
arms, and everywhere we have a proper training program every day of the week, day in, day out. The training goes on for every soldier. So once the Agniveer finishes his basic training and comes into the unit, he falls into that only. Everything is taught because each unit, while the basic procedures are there, each unit has its own method of fighting battles within that framework. You're not rigid like a communist that A will do this and B will do this. No. You're given a framework that this is how you're going to fight. Within that framework, how a unit fights is very different from how another unit is going to fight. And so every day he goes out on leave, he comes back, he's put through the refresher training. And now more and more, because more modern weapons are available, moment you go out, you come back, you got to be put through to get your mind back into how the weapon is supposed to be utilized. So rest assured, Agniveer or whatever, he is still going to be a proper soldier trained. We don't follow the Chinese method that you're not going to train him for on everything till he becomes a contracted soldier. No, Agniveer will be trained on everything.
Thank you, Jyotishmati, for your generous grant. Bharat Telugu wants to know what is the medicine for Manipur issue. Uh,
People higher up decision makers, they'll do it. Why should we be talking about medicines?
Yeah,
What
Bharat
should we do?
watched my video. I aired it about 3 hours, 4 hours ago about the problem of drugs around India. The golden crescent and the golden triangle, and how this has evolved and what this government has been trying to do. Please go through that. It is full of data and it will give you a fairly good idea about where things stand. You have to be patient. Fighting people when they are in the hills and you are on the plains is not easy, and there are also some misplaced loyalty, so they are fighting with that also. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Thank you,
And
Vignesh
I,
Prabhu.
I will just
Yeah,
add, sir, the
yeah,
pressures are going to be more because since last year, 80% of the poppy fields has been destroyed by the Taliban in Afghanistan. So there
yes.
is a void that has happened there, and a whole lot of poppy fields has been destroyed by this government, the Manipur government, from the time it has come to power over the last 3 years. So that is the whole issue that suddenly the drug dealers are finding that they are, it's an issue.
Also, viewers, you have to buy my new book. It's about to come, sir. You know this book.
Yes, super. Let me tell you, friends, you pick it up, you won't be able to put it down. It's so fast paced, and I'm sure somebody from the Bollywood, if they pick it up, they don't need to change anything. It is such a fast paced, beautifully written, simple, and though IRG has tried to hide the people concerned, but those who have lived life through that period can correlate whom he is referring to.
Sir, if you will permit me, I'll read what you have said about the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please.
A wonderful, fast paced, lucid politico thriller, unputdownable, read it in one go, hits home, hits hard, brilliantly written in simple prose with all acts segueing so fluidly. My compliments, Major General Rajiv Narayanan. Sir, I could have not asked for a better compliment, so thank you so much. Naman to
It
you.
wonderful, wonderful. Since I've been through that period, I could relate to each and every character that you have created. Some of them I have known personally.
See, this is really my gift to the youth of India. You all now are having a relative amount of comfort. But if you go back and read how things went in that 1990s up until like 2004, oh my God, you have to thank your stars that the BJP has. This is really a party with a difference. Okay, so I don't want to just say that thing, saying that that's what their motto is, but you have to read. And I bring back to you from 1992, and the story is still continuing because I have left a few things at the end that I don't know how it's going to go. At the same time, I think you as a viewer will be completely abreast of how India got to where it is today. If India had sat in the socialist wagon, my God, you would be as bad as Myanmar, if not worse.
You might have broken apart also.
Oh yeah, very, very possible. So thank you, sir. You came through in such a short amount of time. This book came in just today. I'm going to sign off a production. So I'll be coming to your city, viewers. So I'll keep you posted on what's going to happen. This is something that I would like all of you to read. This is the successor to my book standing behind me, which is Who Painted My Money White. This is also about money, because money is what makes the world go around. It's a song, by the way. I didn't make it up. Next question,
I
please.
Yeah, I have mentioned Tiananmen incident, but it is just that I have not developed and built up onto that. That what were the reactions in that? Very limited, because this is a book about PLA and how PLA was utilized.
Yes,
Not
yes,
much, because I am trying to build a threat to India.
yes,
Tiananmen
yes, yes.
incident was not a threat to India.
Right,
So
right,
it's
right.
very brief, not too much.
Next one, please. Bharat Telugu wants to know what should government do regarding illegal immigrants? The Rohingyas, Bangladeshis may become huge threat in the future.
That was the reason why this government was pushing for your Aadhaar card and linking it with everything.
Yes,
And
yes,
they are
yes.
also now wanting your Aadhaar card to be linked with your voter ID and just see how much of pressure people.
That law is already passed, General Rajiv. And in fact, it has been implemented in some states.
It has been
That's
implemented only in BJP run states.
of course, sir.
The
Sir,
others don't
these
want to
people
implement.
again,
So that
viewers.
anybody
It's
can come with your voter ID in your place and go and vote.
this tells you why some people think always I, me, myself. It's
So
just
once you start doing it and start becoming aggressive about it, then you will find uh, these issues will not affect you. Number two, we need at the government level to legislate. It has to be a bipartisan legislation. Though we have a CAA that we will give citizenship to the persecuted minorities, not Muslims and others. But there are other neighboring countries who are Muslims where you will find Muslims coming in as refugees. So, how do you deal with them? Where should they be kept? The camps where they are to be kept, how to guard them, how to reach out to the UN Office of the Refugees, get funding for them. Why should I be paying for them? Get funding for them and help them go to wherever they want to. Why should I permit them to come and stay in India? Because we lack that, my perception, you have these problems coming in.
very true, very true. In fact, I would even take one step further to what General Rajiv is saying. You link the Aadhaar with your voter card, you've essentially accomplished what an NRC would do. There is no कागज दिखाने का मजा, कुछ नहीं. You link these two. These, if the guy cannot vote, believe me, everybody will tuck their tails between their legs and come and do what you want them to do, what they are supposed to do in the country. Next question, please. Vijay Kumar wants to know why can't central government make a few sensitive regions like Chicken Neck as union territory?
Easier said than done. You are a democratic government with a federal structure. Easier said than done. How can you take off a area which is under a particular state and declare it a union territory? Should have been done. Could have been done earlier. Didn't do it. Now it's difficult. But yes, you're looking at chicken's neck again and again. You're worrying. Don't worry from the north. Worry from the south. The refugees who come in.
Purnima Wagh wants to know I left India in 1991 when India was liberalizing. In 2023, it's a completely different country. True, very true, Purnima. I love going back to India, by the way. It's so much pleasure these days to get around, meet people. Everybody is, I'm on the move. There's a sense of dynamism that I feel when I'm in India now. Next question, please. Kamal Kumar Goel. Book name, please. Here you go.
The Dragon's Bite. The full name is The Dragon's Bite, Strategic Continuum and Chinese PLA's Evolving Fire and Teeth. Since the dragon burns by fire, so what is the fire in the PLA, the Strategic Support Force?
You're welcome, Purnima ji. And with that, we bring to a close today's session. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to buy General Rajiv's book. Optional reading, but buy it first. We need to get across that threshold. And do read it. General Rajiv is a great raconteur, and you should read it. I have read parts of it, and I'm amazed by his intellect. And I have actually tasked him with a request on something else. This is a subject that is very close to both of us. When he is ready, and we will come back to you on that one. General Rajiv, a pleasure having you here, sir, with us. And again, looking forward and best of luck to you on this book. And I'm hoping to meet you when I'm in India, when I'm on my way. So thank you so much once again, sir. And with your permission, we can call this program Sampurna Katam. the end, if you will. And I just want to play our music of awareness before we sign off, with your permission, sir.
Sure, sure.